It's working. Yeah. Okay, cool. It says it's sending. Sending to the world of Facebook. Let's see. We may have done it. Let's see. Right. So we're trying to go live in the Facebook group from Zoom. If you can see and hear me, let me know. Got Stevie with me. Just give me a second to test this out because you guys know how me and technology go at this point. So we're hoping to do a goddess chat. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, cool. Yes. All right. They see and hear us. All is working. Woo, we've done it. We have done it. Okay. Awesome. So I'm going to try to do comments from my phone. I'm back over on Zoom. And I have Stevie Goggans with me tonight, one of my dear soul sisters. You've probably seen her face. She's done some live things in the group. And if you were here in the Grand Strand, you've definitely been in her energy. If you've been at some of our events, we collaborate together quite often. And she contributes in the space as well. She's just such a beautiful soul, and I'm so excited. If you're new to the group, a goddess chat, like what is this? Once a month, I invite in a sister from our community just to come in and tell her story. Like I want this space to be a place where, I'm not, the only one that you see and hear from. There are so many of us in here that have medicine to offer. All of us have this medicine that lives in our hearts and these stories that we can share in this space to inspire, to support, and to provide resources for the sisterhood. So that's what this is about. And our guest tonight is Stevie. So hi and welcome. We got it working. I'm so excited.
Hi, Boo. Thank you. I'm so, just moved my computer around all over the house, but we finally, I had it all set up in my room, like all pretty, and then here's my kitchen. So here we are, but it doesn't matter because I'm super excited to be here. And I just love you so much, and I'm super grateful to just be chatting with you on a Monday night. It's great.
I love it. And you'll have to bear with us because y'all know with sound, we're doing some like muting, unmuting things too, but we were determined to make this live happen. So I'm so excited. And I really just want to just share more of you with the world, Stevie, because you're so incredible. So I would love, I guess, let's just start with, we are both right now rooted in the Grand Strand of South Carolina, but maybe speak a little bit to, where you're from, kind of, did you grow up here? Like a little bit of that story. And then when I think of you, I think of the cacao queen, the one who just graces all of us with cacao medicine. I think of yoga, I think of Bhakti and chanting. So I'd love to just kind of touch on, all of those throughout this conversation. But let's just start with like, kind of you and your journey from, where you're from and to maybe how you found yoga. Does that sound good to start?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love sharing my story. I love talking about myself. I'm just kidding, but not really. So I'm from here. I'm from Pawleys Island. I was born and raised. I was born in Conway and grew up in Pawleys Island to two very loving parents who I'm still really close with, and they still live in Pawleys. And now I'm up in Surfside and Myrtle Beach area, and I would say I got into yoga when I was 21. So I'm 35 now. So it's been a long journey. And I really got into yoga in Pawleys. I took a class with a woman, Angela Jones, and I was in a pretty dark place at that time in my life. And, it was like one of those dark nights of the soul. And I had, I'll just be really transparent because a lot of people know I am sober, and at that time I was not. And so I was dealing with a lot of addictions to alcohol and drugs, and just really like wrapped up in that, and suffering, and couldn't see a way out, and very lost. And so I went to a yoga class just to like, I was just seeking out avenues of like trying to feel better, trying to find my way. And then I went to this one yoga class, and it was like, it really was like one of those magical moments of like a homecoming, you know, where I found like a place in myself that I could rest, where I'd never felt that, you know, before. Maybe I did when I was younger, but I had lost it. And so it was the first time in a long time where I just felt like at peace. And it was funny because it was like a very slow class. It was like me and like 6 other much older women. And I was like, what am I doing here? And then I left and was just like, oh, felt really connected. And so that was like the seed that was planted. And then it was, you know, a few more years of like battling, of like having these little avenues of like yoga, of connection, and kind of dabbled, but still wasn't really out of the darkness yet, you know, just still was like battling. And so it wasn't until I was 24 that I think the yoga really helped. Like there's a quote I really love from that I've used a lot from Paramahansa Yogananda. He wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, and there's a documentary, and one of his students, American students, said like, you mean I can come up here and meditate with you on this hill, and then I can like go back down there and drink and smoke and party with these people, and it's fine? And Yogananda was like, yeah, just keep practicing, and all is coming, because all of that eventually will be useless, you know, will be useless and fall away. And that's kind of what happened. It was like, as I progressed in my yoga practice, all of that, you know, it took a lot of extra outside help, but all of that started to fall away. And at 24, I really like dove deep into the practice and let go of that and kind of old life, and did my yoga teacher training. And it's kind of like the rest is history. I mean, it wasn't just like a nice clean line of like, ooh, and now we're good. You know, it's been a long process, but like, thank God for yoga and meditation and, you know, and other support systems that have helped me get where I am today, because it was a rocky road for a little while. So yeah, I'm super grateful to the practice of yoga and everything that it's led me to who I am today. So that's like in a very short nutshell.
My entire life.
Yeah, my entire life.
I
mean,
appreciate the way that you speak, you know, your truth into spaces around your journey with, you know, getting sober, and still, you know, continuing to dance with that moment to moment, as everyone does, right? These choices that we make, because I feel like sometimes in the world of yoga and what we see like on Instagram and on social media, it's like you just think it's like, this perfect thing, that tends to sometimes just be about like the fitness, but it's so deep. And what I love about like your connection to yoga and the way that like you teach classes is like, yes, it's incredible for your body, but you really anchor into like the ancient knowing, the ancient teaching of yoga, like the real medicine, like let's get to the depth, let's get to the soul, and the consistency of it, that it is a practice, right? Like it's something that like we're still human, right? But to be like in relationship with it and continuing to have it be a piece of your journey. So it's so inspiring, and I think it's beautiful because it gives people an invitation that are, you know, maybe dancing with, you know, addiction or, you know, other issues in their life that can feel really heavy, that might not think like, oh, yoga could be for me, to try it, right? And to try a class that, you know, might be outside of the box too. Like you said, you were, you know, in a class with, you know, women that were older than you, and maybe in some of the crone energy, how about you went and you did the thing and it changed your life, right? So thank you for, you know, speaking that into the space and giving people permission to, you know, to lean in to yoga as the true medicine, you know, that it is. I want to check on comments, just make sure no one has any questions. Allison says she went to high school with Angela. We got Rocky is watching from Mexico. So she's joining us from Mexico. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Sarah, Michelle, Justina. Melanie, Megan. Yeah, we got a whole crew with us. Thank you. As you're joining, feel free to drop questions for Stevie. I have to look down on my phone to view them. But we're happy to answer questions in real time, and then the recording will be up. So if you have questions, then you can always tag Stevie, and then she can come back and chat with you too. I think talk to me about, so we have yoga, but you're really drawn to Bhakti, and are sharing so much of that, in what you do and things we've done together. And I know that it's changed me in a massive way since knowing you and getting to know about it through Chelsea as well. But when I think of Bhakti, I think of you, and so thank you for inspiring that and having that now be something that truly is a place of devotion and a place that brings me in connection with the divine in such a powerful way. So thank you, because I don't know if I would have found it had I not known you. I don't know if it would have crossed my path, but maybe speak a little bit to that, how you found that, your relationship with that, and kind of the benefits of it, and just all the yummy things about Bhakti and chanting and all that good stuff.
I love hearing you say that like, you found Bhakti with the help. I'm sure you would have found it on your own at some point, maybe, but with me and Chelsea, because that's really been one of my big intentions here in our community in the Grand Strand is bringing that here. And I know Chelsea's done a beautiful job of bringing that here as well. So I think it started with just taking yoga classes with some really pretty amazing yoga teachers. And I would hear these mantras, in the class, like they would play their music, and I would hear Krishna Das, who's like a big, Kirtan singer. And I would hear these songs, and they would just like touch such a deep part of me where I would just be like sobbing in Shavasana, and just, I'd just be like, oh, what is that? And I don't even remember. I was trying to think earlier of like where I did my, attended my first kirtan or anything like that. But I remember it's got to be like 8 to 10 years ago. My dear friend Ethan and I would travel to Charleston to go to kirtans because there was nothing happening here, and so we'd be like, let's go to Charleston, and we'd find these little studios in Charleston and attend kirtans because we were just like hungry for it, and there was nothing like that happening here. But yeah, so I think like I would seek it out wherever I could, and then I guess it was 6 years ago when I was in Peru doing my 300-hour teacher training. So I had been teaching yoga for about 5 years at the time. And then I decided to do my like continuing education in Peru. And, and I had known about, I had practiced kirtan, but what came through for me in the 300-hour, because the training was really about like tapping into our own gifts and what we wanted to share with the world, as most of us had already been teaching yoga for a while. And it was like, all right, but what do you now like want to own in on? And I had always wanted to share, music, but I was very like petrified to sing in front of people, like petrified. And I'd always loved to sing and shower, all that stuff. But it came through that like, it used to be when I was like a little girl that I wanted to be like a rock star and sing in a band. And that was like one of my dreams. And what came through was one of the reasons I was scared, because it was like an ego thing. It was like worried about how I sound or how I look, or if people like my, voice. And I realized that if I'm sharing it as an offering, like if I'm sharing my voice with mantra, as a way to connect with people and to bring people joy or hold a space for them to find joy, then it doesn't matter what I sound like, it doesn't matter what I look like. It doesn't matter if I'm offering it from a place of love. And so I really tapped into that in Peru and started practicing the ukulele. I mean, I learned, I'd been practicing a little bit. And at the time, that's really when I was like, I'm going to get this, and decided to bring it back here. And it started kind of slowly. Cacao, which I guess we'll talk about a little bit, I'm sure. And Bhakti kind of started coming together at the same time here. And I was like, there's nothing like this being offered here about six years ago. And I just kind of just started doing it. You know, we would meet at Hans's house. I'm sure a lot of people here know Hans, and he has all the great gatherings. And we did our first cacao ceremony there, and then I just slowly started offering it at Yoga in Common, where I teach. And yeah, but I love it. I think yeah, it is my favorite form of yoga. You know, there's 4 traditional paths of yoga, and Bhakti being one of them. And of course, I love the physical practice of yoga. I still do it often. And but Bhakti is said to be the easiest way to shift, you know, to shift energy, to get in touch with God or the divine, whatever you choose to call that. It's like the quickest and easiest way, because it's just devotion, it's just love, you know. And so anybody can do that anywhere, whether it's singing a mantra, and that's often what people think of Bhakti as, like Kirtan, but it's really just love and devotion. So you can practice that by, you know, clearing your altar, or making an altar, or making a mandala, or saying prayers, you know, or devoting yourself to something bigger, you know, volunteering. Like, there's so many ways to practice it, and that's why I think I love it. But probably like singing is my favorite. It's so fun, it's so joyful, and it's so ancient too, you know. It's like, it's these mantras that we're singing are thousands and thousands of years old. So I feel like we just like tap into something that's been carried, you know, by our ancestors and by other, you know, just for thousands of years. And so we just tap into something really, really deep, like beyond words. So yeah, I love it. It's beautiful. I could talk forever about it.
I could listen forever about it. And speaking of listening, for those that have not heard Stevie sing, her voice is incredible. So go to her Facebook page and like watch some of her videos, because it's so funny to me, because your voice is so it's just so beautiful. And but when you sing mantra, I love that you mentioned that, because it's not about how it sounds, right? It comes from this place of the heart. And to have a group of people singing together, but not only singing together, to be singing words that are healing, you know, vibrationally, like for our bodies, and to have words that you said are connected to this lineage, like it's like thousands of years, like, oh, it's so incredible. So I invite you, if you're here in the Grand Strand, to look for things that have to do, you know, with Kirtan, and just try it. And if you're not, look in your area. Or maybe like Stevie can connect you, or like if you're in a certain area, you can like drop your city and state, and like, you know, maybe Stevie, if she has contacts, she can let you know where to find the Bhakti scene. And I think Bhakti is that the yoga of devotion? Is that what the word means? Am I close? Okay. Yeah,
That's
it's interesting.
exactly it.
Is it? Okay. I feel like maybe I've heard you say it enough in like in co-creations we've done, where I'm like, I felt like that's what it was. One of my words for this year was devotion. And I love that. And I love that then through that, I've had the honor of being in so many spaces where we are, you know, having, you know, these experiences with Kirtan. So thank you for speaking that. And that's why I love these chats, because maybe someone listening has never heard of Kirtan, or even that Bhakti is, you know, one of the limbs of yoga. And then it sparks something within them to just get curious, right? Like that's what these conversations are about, is there's thousands of people from all over the world in this community. And so bringing in different voices to share what lights them up, like it might resonate with someone. And then like the ripple effect that comes from that, like, oh, like I just got chills, like I'm here for it. So thank you for bringing that into the conversation. And we absolutely have to go into cacao. So, you know, if you've been in the community for a while, a lot of the events that we do here locally, we weave in the, you know, cacao ceremony. And when I think of cacao, and especially here in the Grand Strand, I do think of Stevie as a ceremonialist that really honors this medicine. And the way that you hold space with it is in such reverence. It's not some kitschy, trendy, oh, we're done. I mean, like you really are in devotion to sharing this medicine, and you do it with integrity, and you source it with integrity, and so, and ethically. And I would love for you to maybe speak to you know, your travels, and how you then found cacao, and you know what exactly it is for people that might not know, because that could be something else that kind of, you know, sparks that curiosity with someone that's watching tonight and might want to try cacao. And then, yeah, anything around the cacao medicine, I am here to hear more from the Cacao Queen for sure.
I love that, the Cacao Queen. It's like So good.
it's almost.
Just up the Grand Strand. Yeah. So I experienced cacao ceremony for the first time 10 years ago in Guatemala. That's when I really started my kind of nomadic travel lifestyle, where I for the last 10 years have just kind of been all over. But I was working at a place called the Mystical Yoga Farm on Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, and there was a man there that offered cacao ceremony, and it was beautiful. I mean, it was just like, what is this, And then it was like the only time. And then it wasn't until 5 years later, when I was in Peru, that I was reintroduced. And so I didn't really learn a whole lot about cacao, except that I loved it in Guatemala. And then when I went to Peru, the training that I did was a yoga teacher training, but it was a shamanic yoga teacher training. So it was based a lot around plant medicine. And at the time, I really didn't know much about plant medicine. And so a lot of different plant medicine ceremonies were offered in this training. And because I'm in recovery and I'm sober, I'm very careful about what I work with, and just honoring my sobriety, and to each their own. And so I just decided ayahuasca was offered and wachuma, and I just decided at the time that it wasn't for me. But then cacao was offered. So it was like one morning they offered cacao, and it's, it's a plant medicine, but it's not a psychedelic. It doesn't take you, on its own journey. And it just helps you go deeper into the heart. And so I remember it was like one morning, our facilitators, our teachers introduced us, and to this medicine, and we had this ceremony, and my heart was just like burst open. It was just like, again, like, what is this? And I fell in love with it. And we had many opportunities to learn about cacao, and really see, where it comes from, and bean, pod from the tree to the bean, to the paste, to how it's made, and to learn a little bit about the history of it. And so I from the start, because I had these beautiful teachers who also have great reverence for this medicine and for where it comes from, I kind of got on that same path of real respect and reverence. And this isn't just like a trendy, ooh, yeah. And, even then though, it's kind of the same as yoga. Yoga is trendy. And if that brings people to the medicine, then okay, then maybe they can go deeper to it. But yeah. And so what happened was, my friend that I was in training with, Lauren from Canada, we decided we want to do a cacao tour. And it was basically this idea of going to different studios and having cacao ceremonies. And my teachers were like, well, you should go to Colorado. We already have a whole list of studios lined up. We already have connections. It's easy. And I was like, yeah, but there's no cacao in the South, South Carolina. And nobody knows about this there. So why don't we trailblaze and, bring it there? And so we did. And for a month, we traveled around South Carolina, North Carolina, where else did we go? Georgia, and brought it to different, and it was amazing. It was just funny because some places were like, what is this? Woo woo, witchy stuff, but mostly it was really well received. And we did a few ceremonies here in the Grand Strand, and our first one at Hans's house, which kind of introduced the community to this medicine. And I've just had this ongoing relationship with it, and deep respect, because I've gotten to go to Guatemala many times, and again, Costa Rica, and see these cacao trees, and see, the Mayan culture and in Guatemala, and just see how much it's a part of their culture. It's a part of their history, and how it's really looked at as just this beautiful food of the gods. That's what its name means, is a food of the gods. And so I think it's just really helped me go deeper into my own heart, which I talk a lot about in ceremony, like how it does that, and how it helps open the heart and really create a lot of healing. I've seen that with many people and with myself, like just so much healing and release. And so I love it, and I really respect it as this beautiful spirit and this plant that, like, really it's like my friend, because it's gotten me to where I am also today, like, you know, and getting to lead these ceremonies and getting to have these events where I get to really just like be in joy and share and love, and I wouldn't be able to do that without this medicine. So I think it's really guided me also to where I am. That was a lot.
I love that you use the word friend. Like, I often will reference, you know, different healing modalities like tools in our tool belt. But I think taking it like that step deeper and to be like, no, like these are my friends. Like, this is my crew that I'm like traveling with through life. We got Cacao, we got yoga, we got Shanti. Like, I love it. So thank you for speaking in that way. I love that. And if anyone has questions about, you know, where to source cacao ethically, it's so yummy. It's like, it's so yummy. And you feel it. It does it opens your heart, and it's so beautiful to experience it with a group of people. I mean, I speak so often in this community about community. Like, I'm all about, like, if we're moving through something that's opening our hearts, like, let's do it together, right? Like, let's just like have that impact together, and let's just take it next level. And that's one of those things, is when you are, you know, sipping on cacao with others and speaking or blowing your intention, you know, into the cup before you drink it. I think all of these things that we're speaking about are about devotion. It's about slowing down enough, tuning in enough to be like in ceremony with yourself and in ceremony with life. And so, like, I honor deeply the ceremonialist that you are with the way that you interact with life, the way that you have blissfully structured your life. But let's take a minute to talk about travel, because my friends, like, you travel to the most beautiful locations, and I would love if you would speak a little bit about kind of like what you're doing. So if you're friends with Stevie on Facebook, you know, if not, you know, check her out. But you will see that often she is in the most exotic, incredible locations and doing deep sacred work. And so I'd love if you maybe would speak a little bit about that as kind of one of the last things we chat about tonight.
Yeah, I just feel like so lucky. Like, it just kind of blows my mind that I get to do this stuff, you know? It's like, because looking back, you know, I've been sober for 10 years now. And so looking back, it's like, I could go on a whole nother trek just being grateful. So I just, number one, I feel really lucky. And a lot of people are like, you know, you've done the work to get here. And I think I have done the work. And I like saying I'm lucky, because then I'm like, the universe hears me say I'm lucky, and maybe they'll give me more lucky things. So yeah, I'm really lucky and I'm really grateful. So yeah, I like I said, I started traveling 10 years ago when I got sober, and it was like this feeling of kind of FOMO. Like, I felt like I had wasted like 10 years before that. I was deep in addiction, and I felt like I had kind of wasted a lot of time just being in this like dark, not going anywhere. And so when I got sober, I was like, just had this urge to go see the world. And it started in Guatemala with work. It started really with work trades. Like, I went to Guatemala, and they let me stay there for free and have food if I would teach yoga classes. And so I stayed there for 2 months. And then I found another work trade in Bali at a silent retreat center, all online. I was just like, you know, Googling, like, where can I go? And I, you know, went there. You know, I didn't get paid, but I got a free accommodation for a couple months. And I was just like adventure mode. And then when I and then I went to Thailand for a year, because I was like, I want to go to Southeast Asia. And I decided I wanted to go there. And so I got a job teaching English in Thailand. And yeah, it's just amazing. So I traveled through there, and then after that is when I did my 300 hour with Kula. And so Kula Collective, who's also an amazing company. I mean, a lot of what I share, I've learned from them, you know, so I have to give them a lot of credit. And they're beautiful teachers, and it's a collective that leads teacher trainings. And so I did my 300 hour with them, and then did a facilitator training course and some apprenticing, and then started doing teacher trainings with them. And then when I came home, my home-based studio, 𝐒𝐭𝐞𝐯𝐢𝐞, that I've worked at for 11 or 12 years, Linda, the owner, she asked me to start leading trainings at 𝐒𝐭𝐞𝐯𝐢𝐞. And so I was doing both. And so with 𝐶𝐿A, I get to travel with them, and I go to places all over the world, and we do 200-hour, they also offer 300, but right now I just teach the 200-hour yoga teacher trainings in different locations, and they're like 25-day immersion trainings. And so I get to go, we get to go. I just came from Guatemala. I was there in June for a month leading a training. And yeah, it's just incredible because we're really immersed. We try to really immerse ourselves in the culture. We try to do, like, we have a karma day where we work alongside the locals, and try to find some way to give back, because we realize that we are the foreigners, and we are in their land and their space. And so, but that's just led me to so much inspiration, because I've gotten to meet like all these amazing people who are doing like incredible things with their lives. And I think most importantly, what I've learned from traveling is to trust and to just like follow your joy, like follow your love. What do you love? And follow that, because it has not failed me yet. Like as I've, and I've met so many people around the world that are doing the same thing. They're just like, like living out of their van, but they're happy because they're following their joy, or they're traveling the world, and they're just, it's just amazing. And so, so far it's provided for me, and I do get to live this kind of blissful, I'm not like in a mansion, I'm not rich, but I have everything I need. And I think, that's kind of my mantra is, like, I'm so provided for all the time, as long as I keep, following my joy. And I think like really sharing and caring, caring about others, connecting and sharing what lights me up is usually what helps other people. If I'm sharing authentically, then I'm letting like kind of spirit come through and guide me. And that seems to be working so far, Not a good life. Can't complain.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Follow your joy. Absolutely. And it's funny because I tend to, one of the last questions I ask is, if you were to leave, one final statement or medicine, with people to take with them, but like, I think, that's beautiful that you naturally kind of went there, is to follow your joy. And what I love about that kind of statement and the simplicity, but also massiveness of it, is that joy is different for every single person. And so like, that's why I think we can, like, this is a conversation for another time, but why like lack and scarcity mentality is kind of ridiculous, because if we're truly following our joy, we're all drawn to different things. So some people might truly get lit up, like being in that corporate workplace, doing the damn thing, and then they're on that path, right? For some of us, it's being in ceremony, or it's yoga, or it's being outside, or it's being at home with your children, like whatever it is for you. And so what a beautiful invitation, and what perfect time. And I actually have chills right now on the evening before the 8/8 Lionsgate to kind of end with that, like follow your joy. That's the invitation for like tonight, and especially tomorrow, to really get clear on that. Like, what does light you up? So Stevie, thank you for bringing that into this conversation, and for just being an embodiment of that, following your joy, getting curious about the what if, and taking those steps and those leaps of faith, and continuing to hold the faith that you will be provided for, and that you're tapped in with all of the friends you now have around you, all the tools in your tool belt that I'm now going to call friends, to help guide you, when you need to make decisions along this path of following joy. So let me double check and see if we have any questions. There's a lot of people here. So if you have any questions, let me know. Raven says, I'd love to hold and also sit within a cacao circle. Oh, yes, Raven, if you have not, you would love it. We need to get you back on the grandstand at some point here soon, my friend. Raven's joining us from New York. Yeah, and so if you have questions about cacao or yoga or, you know, Kirtan or Bhakti, any of the things that we spoke about, please drop a comment, drop a question for Stevie. She can come in here and communicate with you. I can link you up with her. But Stevie, if you want to go ahead and speak into the space, like where can people find you? What do you have coming up soon? If people want to, you know, work with you or learn more about some of the things that we talked about in here, yeah, floor is yours.
Yeah, it's so funny. I just made a post because I'm like finally trying to get my stuff together and like a website, and because people have been asking for years, like, what, you have a website? And I'm like, no, I have nothing. So for now, following me on Instagram is probably, or add me on Facebook, because I have a link tree and I post all my events on there. And so, yeah, my Instagram is stevie.lakshmi, because I love Lakshmi, because she's all about joy and abundance and beauty. And so you can follow me on Instagram. And yeah, I usually post all my stuff there. And yeah, I'm at Yoga in Common. We have a teacher training, yoga teacher training, a 200-hour coming up, which I'm so excited about. It starts September 14th, and it's a 3-month training, and it's designed, like I do the immersive ones with Kula, but this is designed for people that can't leave for a month. You know, like I know that that's really hard for some people. And so it's only, we meet like 2 weeknights after work hours, usually 5:30 to 8:30, and then 2 weekends per month. And it goes until December 16th. And I love it because it's a space where we get to share all the things. So of course you would learn how to become a yoga teacher, but I say like everybody should do a yoga teacher training, because it's way more, like we've said, it's way more than just learning the physical. You know, it's like, it's going deep into the history and the philosophy and meditation and Bhakti. We do a lot of Bhakti and mantra and chanting. And yeah, my friend Mitchell is doing it with me, and he's been teaching for 20 years. He's an expert when it comes to like the physical. And then I dive into, you know, the spiritual and ceremony and all of that. And so yeah, we have that coming up, and you can connect with me on Facebook or Instagram if you have questions about that. You can also, I can give you my email, Leah, if you want to just like draw, or I'll drop it in the chat box, even my number. So yeah, and then we have another full moon ceremony coming up at the end of the month. So excited. Maybe I'll sneak some cacao in. We'll see.
Yes. We had our little mason jar last time.
Yeah. Yeah, we went to a concert last night, me and Hans and Sarah, and I brought cacao to that. I just cacao on deck. Cacao everywhere. So yeah, a lot of fun things coming up. We have the Red Tent Sisters, but yeah, if you go to my Facebook or my Instagram, you should be able to see the calendar and all my events coming up. So yeah.
Calendar's looking good, friend. I love it.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
And what I'll do is I'll post all this stuff, you know, here. Like I said, this is my first time really zooming from Zoom into Facebook. So we're going to see how the back end of this goes once I end this. But hopefully I'll be able to add it and, you know, edit and add all the links and stuff. If not, we'll do a post. So that way you'll know how to connect with Stevie. Definitely check out the teacher training. And then, yeah, I think it's August 30th, we are doing another full moon yoga gathering. So it will be, we do have some chanting, some kirtan at the very beginning. There's meditation, there's a yoga class. We do different community things. So each one's different based on the theme of the moon. So join us. It's out at Mindful Journey Academy in Conway, South Carolina. And if you're not in the Grand Strand and you want to connect with Stevie, please do. You know, she is absolutely incredible and can probably link you up with different, you know, people in your area. And if you're interested about learning more about cacao, maybe we can get a link for somewhere that you recommend, Stevie, for people, because it matters where you purchase the cacao from. You know, we want to make sure that it's being ethically sourced and that we're supporting, you know, the communities there, and honoring, you know, the sacredness and the history, you know, of this plant and the land where it's grown. So let me double check on the comments before we close. We love you too, Kathleen. Thank you for everyone that joined. And hopefully if there's a replay, thanks for watching the replay. Again, this whole Zoom thing is new. Stevie, thanks for for riding along on this journey with me. And yeah, everyone have you know, a beautiful night. And I think really just sit with that question, like what brings you joy, and then knowing that it's your birthright to follow it. So thank you, Stevie, for that seed of inspiration this evening.
Thank you so much, sister. It's been a joy to talk to you tonight. I love you and you're amazing. And yeah, I wouldn't rather spend my Monday night any other way.
All right, so much love.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.